Okay, so welcome back to another video on we're going to be doing on the Z3. We're going to be doing a few things today. Haven't been doing a couple of videos, had a few things going on at home, so the car's got delayed a wee bit. So we're back on. I've actually developed a fault with the Z3. I'm going to put you and show you. So what we've got is the engine management light on and the ABS light, and basically what's happening is when you try to rev it, that's the pedal right down, you're getting no power. So I believe this, I've had it on the scanner and it's telling me that it's a secondary air valve. So I'm going to go in the engine bay and have a wee look. It's driving perfect, and then with the heat and the sun, it's sitting, basically it was just losing power and it was intermittent. So I've changed the diesel valve and I just have to check the pipe work, so I'll go through it basically and have a look. Also going to do a bit of an update, not that there's much to update on the Escort RS Turbo. At the minute we're actually trying to get parts for it. It's going to be fixed. That's the initial plan. The car is going to be fixed, so we're trying to track down enough parts and track down somebody who's keen to take on the whole project, because it's not for the faint-hearted basically. And also I have a Porsche 911 C4S and 997. Having a wee bit of an intermittent fault with that, so we're going to have a wee look at that. Might even do it in this video. So this is going to be a wee bit of a muddle together thing, just to get a wee update and to get this wee car sorted, because it's been raining as well. The cars, I've just had it parked up, been very busy at work. So anyway, enough getting on. We're going to get to this and have a wee look around the engine bay. So I'll come back to you once we're underneath there. So just to show you the rear brakes, what I've actually done is I've removed the caliper here. There's two big nuts at the back, and this was the dust shields I got, the new shields. So if you actually cut a groove in here, just where there's like two, this is where the handbrake cable comes through, and there's a couple of bolts in behind it. If you can cut a groove here, it'll allow you to bend that heat shield on, or sorry, dust shield on, and it'll allow you to fit it. And it won't do any harm. It still allows you to fit the handbrake shoes, and that basically means you don't have to pull the whole hub and bearing off to get it in. So all I'm doing now is just I've put a new handbrake cable in, which is fed up in through the heat shield, and it's pretty self-explanatory when you get underneath. It just pops through into two wee clips. That was the issue I was having. It had dozed a bit in the centre there, it was rusted, and then the cable wasn't stretching through there, so quite a cheap cable. Same cable both sides, so you only need the one type. Interestingly, two issues with this. This was a first line one, so if you look at this, there is a slight, it's off centered, it's like a squared off shape, like an oval shape. So that, where the wee bracket that mounts into where your handbrake is, which I'll show you in a wee second, and there's a bolt and a washer goes through that. I wasn't really getting the clearance with that. And on this end, this loop comes through into your caliper. It pops through, sorry, your caliper into your shoes here. It pops into there. So that actual end as well, I had to grind away a wee bit with the sander just to make it a bit easier. Now this is the one that came out of it. So interesting, there's a wee slight difference in them. I don't believe that when they're listed, they're all for the same cables. So don't assume always that brand new parts are going to fit 100%. So I'll show you inside once I've got it adjusted up, just where you can adjust your handbrake. So it's like anything else. If you just put a wee screwdriver on this and lever it up the way to tighten it, down the way, and then as that pushes the shoes open, that gives you your handbrake. It can adjustment up. You're better always adjusting it here, and the way you can actually do that is by spinning the hub round, and you can do it with a screwdriver without actually taking the disc off. Sorry about the noise in the background, usual compressor. So I'll adjust this up just until there's just clearance to get the hub on, and then I'll show you inside as well. It's a sort of lazy way where you can adjust it. So just to show you the other way, basically if you pull the wee boot off, and that's where your handbrake cable's sticking through, left and right side, and then that's a 12mm nut. So basically tighten down the 12mm nut and that'll pull the cable through. That's the lazy way, because you'll run out of adjustment on that. So always better to have them quite tight to the top and use the adjustment in the actual hub itself. So very simple, not much to make a video on, so just a wee bit of interest again, and that's it sorted. So hopefully ready for MOT. Okay, so under the hood or under the bonnet, depending on where you're watching. So first couple of things we're going to look at. Number one, these hoses I wasn't happy with. So these can split down the sides here, which this one is starting to split, and this one here isn't a good shape, and it's dozing quite a bit, so not happy about that. We've ordered 2 of them and I have them here with me now. Next thing is the DSA valve here, which is plugged in, and that is an item that goes faulty. There's a flap in there and a seal. I actually have one here. Let me show you what they look like. Yeah, have the old one here. So in the car, this flap operates with a vacuum, changes the induction in the induction manifold. That's where it's mounted to, so that's the way it's mounted in the car. So one of the issues with this is the flap, and this was actually coming apart. The small wee pin comes out of here and the flap can actually fall off. There is rebuild kits, and I might rebuild this one. So basically you replace the pin, the internals, and then it goes on to work again. Also this orange seal here can break down and allow a vacuum leak. So I bought one cheap enough, brand new, and we've got it on there, and I'm not getting any faults with the computer, so I'm going to assume that that's okay for now. But yeah, I'm going to keep that one anyway because that's an original one, and better to try and fix that one. So that's quite a simple thing, by the way. I'm not sure if I actually made a video. I might have an old video doing it, but it was just a torque underneath there and a torque here, and then there's a clip in the back of this which pushes in that spring. Push that in, then unplug that. Access, unless you use a couple of knuckle joints, it can be tricky to get at, and then just pull them 2 out and that comes off. So that was the first protocol, because when I unplugged that there recently, the thing started working again. So anyway, next stage is going to be these pipes, so these hoses that run down here, and it's actually given me a fault for a second. That runs down to the fuel filter. So this is the old hose. I'm going to replace this all. I'm not too happy about it. So I'm going to get the car up and I'll show you where it runs to underneath. Also here, there should be a valve around the back, just at the back of this engine here. There should be a secondary air valve that runs around there, which I need to investigate and see. It should run around the back of the engine, and there's plugs that go on there and things. So I want to check all the vacuum hoses here and make sure that the vacuum leak, because what's happening is when you rev at the throttle fly by wire. So when you rev the throttle, it's going into a limp mode, and then it's cutting the power. So yeah, that's enough on this. We're going to do a wee bit of investigating. I can't really film this, so I'm going to just, as I say, replace some of these hoses. We'll inspect them, and then I'm going to replace these 2 induction hoses as well. Pretty straightforward, it's just Jubilee clips. And we're going to get that sorted and see if we can't get this fault out of the way. Okay, so quick update, and what I've done is I've actually replaced the hose going into here with this new bit of hose onto the plastic pipe, and then when you follow that plastic pipe down, it leads onto your fuel filter. And I never videoed that part. The hose that came off in bits. It was destroyed, so hopefully this is going to be the cause. It's given me a secondary air valve fault. Now the secondary air valve should be here, which has been blanked off. It was blanked off and I've used this for a year, so I suspect that it's given me that fault, and that's just a generic fault and that wasn't actually the cause, or I'm sort of hoping that way. So what I'm doing now, like I said, brand new hoses. These are Phoebe ones, so I'm going to replace these now back onto the throttle body and connect them all back up, and then we'll do a reset on the computer and see what it's given me. There is no other vacuum lines to replace, and everything else seems to be okay. This line here runs over, it's for the brakes, and I can't follow it through, so hopefully that's going to be the case now. So the only other issue is possibly a wiring fault with this diesel valve, but the diesel valve wasn't coming up as a fault then once I refitted it, so I'm assuming that is going to be okay. So a bit more troubleshooting. I'm going to connect these other hoses up and do a reset, and then we'll have a look and see. The other thing can be a leak. A problem with leaking is this breather off the crankcase, or off the rocker cover, but that's good. And I did do this cover with a gasket recently, but I mean it had worked and driven, so it's just funny how this has came about. The only other option again is the pedal, so the actual throttle pedal itself, but put this back together. Like I say, it's not much, it's only Jubilee clips detached, so the two pieces and then the MAV sensor. Maybe give the MAV sensor a wee clean down as well before I put it in, and we'll have another look at it. Okay, so annoyingly car's going, it's running good. What I mean by annoying, I replaced the hoses, all the pipes, and when I first initially started it I still had the fault. Then I let it warm up for a second without touching the accelerator, and the fault didn't come back, so now it's revving clean again, and which suggests to me it didn't really fix it with anything. Now, it did give me a throttle position sensor again, which I'm beginning to suspect maybe something to do with it as well. So I'm going to go and I'm going to have a look at the throttle pedal here and the cable going to it, and see if it has any signs of wear, or if it's easy to have a look and see what it looks like. For the matter of course, because it's flagged up, it might be something I have to do. So I'm going to take it for a bit of a test drive here, and then we're going to see what happens, because as I say, it was driving faultless, and I know I've replaced these hoses and pipes now. The pipes that I did replace were really soft. I would suggest these were like an eBay item. They weren't finished at all, and they were actually sucking in and squeezing and closing over. They didn't fit very good. Now, this one in particular was starting to split down here. I don't know if you see it even looking in there. It's just finished poorly. The wee hole up in the center there where that runs out for that wasn't it's not even open. So I would suspect these were probably eBay ones. Phoebe ones seem to be a better fit. Part number, just in case. Not sure which side that's for. And part number, just in case anybody's wanting to find out what it is or cross-reference them. So next step is going to be in here, and we're going to have a wee look underneath. Let's turn the radio off. We're going to have a wee look up underneath, and it just seems to be a couple of wee poppers here, which is just up here. So sorry, I'm looking at the camera, just up here. So I'm going to strip these out, and then I'll have a look and see what's here. Okay, so plastic trays out, that pops out. There's just two wee plastic clips, 90-degree turn, and they pop out. So I'll take you in here with me to see. And annoyingly, so first of all, we've got that black lever. If you follow it up, that black tube, and that is the electrical sensor for the pedal. Now, to me that doesn't look genuine, that looks aftermarket. Maybe I'm wrong, it doesn't look like a used part by any means or stretch. A bit suspicious even about them bolts, so I'm just wondering, has that been replaced before? I would like to see an original. If anyone has a picture of an original or can verify that that's not an original part, because I can't see a BMW part number on it. So that is making me suspicious that this has been replaced before, possibly with an aftermarket one. So like I say, unfortunately or fortunately, it's working at the minute, but that as you can see, it's what's called fly-by-wire, sorry, yeah. So when that wee arm moves down, it's sending an electrical signal to the engine, which is then using vacuum to rev the car. So a breakdown in that signal would create an issue as well. But is it worth me throwing one in there when that looks so new? I don't know. I'd like to see one, like I say. So I'll take it for a test drive and we shall see what the car is doing. So annoyingly, it's working. Everything is revving perfect. Not overly happy for strange reason, because I haven't really found the issue. Now looking at the pedal sensor, it definitely looks like it's non-genuine, and that's going to be the next step. So for now, that's going to be it for the Z3. I'm going to leave the wee bit of ducting off for access, and I'm just going to keep an eye on that. And if the sensor does, if it fails again, there's a plug on that. I'm going to take the plug off, plug it back in again, and see if I can rule that piece out. It's actually given me a fault on the secondary air sensor, which has been blanked off, which is why I'm getting that. I'm getting a fault on the steering wheel controls, because somebody has put, again, aftermarket wheelie one, which is done away with that. Excuse my filming today. And also one with a coolant temperature sensor, but that mustn't have been in. I mean, nothing has changed, so all that was the same. So we shall we'll see. We'll basically have to drive this car now again another couple of times and see if I can get the fault to come up again, which is crazy. It's now like to fix things, you know. If I replace something and the light goes out and you can rule it out, it's good. Say, I know it's not the vacuum system now because the car's driving perfect, so that's all good. Better to have replaced it all. So next step, as I say, will be the throttle position sensor, which is on the pedaler, which I showed you, and I'll try and find a BMW genuine one, compare it just to see. And I might try, and there's a BMW breakers, I might try and get a couple, or a sensor here, and maybe just replace it as well and see if that makes a difference. So on to something different. Okay, update on the Escort, and as you can see, it has become part of the garage again, buried. So I've had a lot of back and forward with this about what's going to be done with it. Personally, I wanted to reshell it, but my friend wants to rebuild the shell. So we're now trying to get parts located and also get somebody that's going to have the time to put in to do it. As you can see, this place is just always flat out, so trying to get somebody to do that. As you can see, lots of cars here at the minute, so trying to get that squeezed in and around is going to be an issue. So on to the next job, and that's what we're going to be working at. So it is a Porsche 911 997 Targa 4S. So this car is 2008, I think. Basically belongs to a very good friend of the family, and it doesn't do very much every year. Pretty much I do check it over for MOT and stuff, so it's MOT, and then occasionally they take it on a bit of a road trip. It was going down into the south of France, but not now. So what I'm getting, let me see if I can recreate it. Come on me inside. So what I'm getting is on the ignition switch, basically, there you go, first time clicked. So it's clicking the starter, but it's not actually starting it. No. And there you go. So 2 or 3 clicks and the starter is then engaging. Now I've tried that with both keys. Now these keys do give issues, the actual barrel in here, and can be changed. However, the wiring loom on the back also of this car, of the starter motor, is problematic, and the starter, I suspect, is probably part of the problem. So going to get it up and we're going to have a look and see how accessible it is, and also what the wires look like, in case you've never seen inside the back. That's obviously the target too. This is the glass roof section, actually slides down into over the back window. I'll show you that later on. So as some of you know and some of you probably don't know, this is your access. Now, alternator is very easy, but the starter cables and wirings away in the back. Now, I have seen a couple of issues where the cables have give trouble and actually started to melt. So hopefully that's not the case. So I'm going to get this car up and get a look at it and see what the starter looks like, the contacts on the starter and the cables. I'll probably take the power cables off and give them a bit of a clean up. So this is a 3.8 and obviously the boxer engine, so nice and clean. And obviously just now the problem with the starter is, or the starting of the car, sorry, is what we're going to look at. So first of all, I'm going to do a bit of a code read on it with the scanner, just to see if it's giving me any electrical faults or anything relating to the starter. Okay, so I've went ahead and plugged the OBD in. It's actually over in the middle there, just in the underneath the glove box. And just going to go through this with you. So I've already read the chassis number, and that's just confirming the car. 911997 2008, I think I said was right. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and confirm that, and then I'm going to do a diagnosis on the car and see if we get any faults. This could be totally boring or could go very quick. There we go. There's 2 faults and something. Just going to pause this and then we'll go back through them. Okay, so we'll start working through them. Excuse, I was working with sealer there, so that's why I had gloves on. Communication. Now this car did incidentally get a battery replacement, so some of these could be in relation to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to erase the codes. I'll go back and read them again and see if it brings them up. No fault codes detected. So that could have well been something to do with the battery initially. Now, next one. Terminal S, that's interesting. I wonder what that relates to. So I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna take a screenshot of it and come back to you shortly. Okay, so back into the menu. Antenna diversity, something to do with the, well, could be something to do with the key. Be something to do with the key or the radio. I need to look that up. I don't know these codes. Haven't worked at a Porsche for a while, so again I'll go ahead and delete that, take a picture of it so I can see the code later on, look it up. So finally, whatever the rear is here, we're going to have a look at it. Instrument cluster, communication, passenger door, terminal 30 voltage supply, siren communication. When the battery went flat and the alarm was going off, the key was also stuck in the ignition and things, so I think this is related to that as well. So I'm going to give that an erase. So that is giving me everything all clear. So what I'm going to do quite simply is just turn the car off, and I'm going to turn it back on again and then do another scan just to see if anything comes back on and it's highlighted back. So pretty much nothing there jumping out at me. However, I have to check them other two codes and see which one of them, if any of them relates to this starting issue. So yeah, no need to film this. I'll just go back through and then we'll come back and chat to you afterwards. So back into it, deleted all the codes, and I've got one back again. So we're going to take a look at it. Read codes. Porsche stability management control unit drive. Interesting. So we shall see. We'll look that up as well and see. But all the rest of the codes, just going to give that an erase as well. Turn the engine off. That's just asking me the data will be deleted if I want to do it. So if you basically freeze the screen or you want to take a picture of one of the fault codes, once you do this, that takes the fault code away. As you can see, codes have been successfully erased. So we'll go in again and just read the code in there. No fault codes. So that is pretty much telling me not a lot. It's pretty much telling me that all the electrical side of it, keys, etc. You know, there's obviously an immobilizer in this that recognizes the key when it goes in, and it's recognizing both keys. So I don't think that is going to be the issue. However, them switches do give up. Not too hard to replace, but obviously coded to the car. So I think the next step is going to be to get it up in the air and get a look around the starter and the wiring and connections. As I say, this car only does a couple of thousand miles a year, so we'll have a look at that. Hopefully this was a wee bit interesting for you, and we'll see what it looks like when we're underneath. So just a quick view of the engine bay and showing you the air intake system and the throttle body in place. And these had to come out first, all just with screwdrivers. Pretty easy, and a bit of a breather pipe at the back, and that's the throttle body on the trolley. And showing you the access now that I have through the throttle bodies towards the starter. So I've been doing the starter motor in the Porsche. This is this Porsche Targa 4S. So I've did a bit of I've just showed you a few images of it. Basically it's buried in here. So we've had the throttle body out, and you can just see the new starter in down the bottom there in the black, just with the leads off it. Everything from the top here, and then the cables. I had to route the cables up underneath around the gearbox. So just to give you a look at what was involved in it. So a bit further on again, and cables are connected, main power wire, I've got the earths on, and the igniters, which are the starter for the starter. So yeah, I mentioned there briefly the loom, and these actually can be troublesome in these cars as well. It's a replacement thing. I think for some of the ages it was actually a warranty recall on them. So when I say the loom, it runs from the starter here, and it cuts up over the gearbox, and it actually runs out to the alternator, which is just here as well. So it's a section of wire you buy. It's about, I can't remember off the top, I think it was 140-ish pounds, and then that goes down and loops over the gearbox, and then it connects into the back of the car. So it can be an issue with these as well. And yeah, the starter itself, this is the one out of the car, and you can see an awful lot of carbon buildup and things around the ends around it here. and it's pretty weak. You shouldn't be able to turn and rotate the way it is. It was catching now and again, other times it wasn't catching. So hopefully this should sort out all the problems. For the car only being an occasional car, it didn't really matter, you know, but now it's started to get noticeably worse. So I've spent a few days driving it and diagnosing it and things. So this is the best way to do it. So not much more to say. I'm just going to pop the throttle body back on in here, which is throttle body here. Give it all just a bit of a clean down and wipe down. And then the breather pipes just connect on here. The bolt, you can just see at the tip of my finger, there's a torque there. The other one is the opposite side, lower down. So you had to actually come in with straight bars and extensions down underneath. So getting the bottom one out is a bit awkward. I used a 3/8 extensions and actually a knuckle joint on the end, but it was putting it back in. I actually used masking tape the bolt on, because you have to feed it in through a gap at the back and then get it started, wiggle it about. So a wee bit fiddly, and then trying to get the sockets all back out without dropping them is another issue. But definitely not the worst starter I've ever had to do on a car. But you are compact, and I'm just sitting here. There's no point in even putting up in the ramp. I'm actually just sitting on a chair looking straight in on it. So not a whole lot more I can show you about it. This engine here as well, alternators on the front. So alternators were actually one of the easiest you can do, and then the accessory belts. And then obviously when you start getting into the service item, like the spark plugs are down the side and in. A bit trickier, that's all underneath, but not a car to be totally scared of, you know, especially this is quite a fresh car. There's only 50,000 miles on it, so it's been looked after. I would actually love to get a power wash in here and clean this all out, but we'll see if I maybe get it another time and do a good valet and clean on it for him. But anyway, I'm just rambling on, so get this all connected and we'll give a test drive and a few starts, make sure I've got the issue sorted, and then it shall be back to as I say, back to the family friend, and that's it. So there we go. I just realised when I was editing the video that I never actually did an outro or told you how I got on with the Porsche. So the starter motor cured it. I ended up running in the evening time. Rain came down, so I couldn't do a demonstration of the roof. But anyway, vehicle was fixed. It's way back, and that cured it 100%. So thanks for watching. I know it was a bit of a long video, a bit of a mixture with Z3 and the Porsche. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.